Oh, yes, eye of newt and tongue of dog and all those witchy things. Welcome to the Background Noise Podcast. Ooh.
Well, like he said, yeah, welcome. Thank you for that, Joseph. That was very entertaining. I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you. You don't have to lie, but thank you.
This is going to be our third week of Spooky Month Jamboree, and this week we are let's see. We were Scooby Doo's. That was late '60s, early '70s. So we're jumping from there, going now to the '90s.
Radical.
This is early '90s, right? Tubular, as the bullies say.
We've gone from groovy to radical.
Or, as the bullies say, tubular.
Oh, yeah, God, that's right.
Yo, Hollywood.
Yo, Hollywood. Look at this dweeb. Oh, God. I tried to suppress that. Well, I was going to say I only just watched it, but yeah, it's been about, I don't know, an hour, and it's just, the 90s-ness. You could distill that and sell it.
If Hocus Pocus was a voodoo doll and you stuck a pin in it, every single 90s kid would twitch simultaneously.
Yeah, like all the millennials.
All of the 90s kids would twitch simultaneously. It is the 90s just like compressed into this one package. Which, it depends on if you like the 90s, that's great. If you don't like the 90s, then you're going to really hate this.
I feel like this might be a similar sort of situation where if you didn't grow up with it, watching it now would be a little strange, and you probably wouldn't get it, if I'm being honest. I grew up with it, so I didn't really get that same thing, but...
The interesting thing is, I don't think that's entirely the case, because I didn't watch it until I was already an adult.
Oh, interesting.
I watched like 19 years old, 19, 20. Now, obviously, it's been a few years since I've first seen it, but I was already an adult first time I saw it, and I still love it because it is very much it is the perfect embodiment of 90s insanity, and I love it.
Well, there you go then. Okay, well that's cool. I would say that's the exception, but there might be more people out there who when they were adults did still find something because there is something charming about this film. It's not, wouldn't be the writing. I'd say if anything, I would probably say it's the effort, particularly from the three witch actresses. But before we get into that, do you guys want to talk about it? Joe, you kind of went into it a bit saying when you were an adult, you first watched it. Do you want to elaborate on that? Kind of when we all first saw the film?
Sure. You want to start since you watched it the earliest?
Maybe I did. Was this your first time, Joseph?
Yeah. This is
That's right.
It's a bit like The Matrix in that it was very, very adjacent to like what I was, like, the stuff I was watching, or it like got mentioned so much, just sort of like, okay, well, I've seen the Halloween costumes in like Party City or stuff. And and I saw saw the other things for The Matrix, and then this is just sort of like, yeah, it was there. You see, I was more of a when Halloween was around when I was a kid, I was more of a Cartoon Network guy. Scary Godmother fan base, where you at? Where you at? Shout out in the comments. We don't have comments. Okay.
When we get comments, shout out.
But yeah, it was a little more on that instead of Hocus Pocus. But what is it? I can see why people would be. It's definitely got that. It's got the same zaniness as like kind of other Halloween specials or whatever. It's like a good word for this is zany, and you can definitely tell a lot of people had, the actors, just kind of, this seems like a fun movie, and I could be completely wrong. It could be like those behind the scenes things where it's like, yeah, this movie took like 20 years off of my life. It was terrible to work on, but it's like everybody seems to be having fun, and it really shows. It does seem like the perfect, like, it's not Halloween break, but I guess, it's the week before Halloween or something, or they let us off early on Halloween, and Hocus Pocus is on. This is the best day ever.
Yep, I think that's That's probably that makes sense. I think for me, I probably watched it. It would have been late grade school or middle school, I think, when I first watched it, and don't really have a ton of memories aside from I remember just enjoying it. It was fun. I think the best word to describe it personally, I think it's probably campy. It definitely seems kind of campy now, the humor. Um, but I definitely remember liking it. Revisiting it now, definitely, I don't think I enjoy it as much as I did growing up, but there are definitely still some elements that we'll talk about that I still enjoy and appreciate about the film.
Hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I didn't watch it until I was already in college. It was with a group of people where we were watching dumb movies for Halloween, and we were just going down people's lists of favorite dumb Halloween movies. And by dumb Halloween movies, I don't mean that all of them were Hocus Pocus, because also on that list were things like Nightmare Before Christmas and other other movies that are like in the popular culture of Halloween. And so that one happened to be recommended, and I was like, I haven't seen this one before, and I saw it, and I think I'm actually in the same boat where you're at, Jack. Of like, I think if I had seen it as a kid first, I would love the movie, but because I saw it when I was an adult first, I was like, this is fun. Campy is definitely the appropriate description. It's definitely campy, um, but because it's campy, I can't enjoy it as much as I could if I had seen it first time as a child.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
makes
kind of
sense.
where we're at.
Cool. I feel like now, I mean, we didn't really have a super tight layout for this. I feel like at this point, we simply go through like things that we liked and then go into things that we didn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, anybody want to go first? We can like start with what we liked, and then we can go with what we didn't.
Well, you brought it up, I think, already. Definitely, the three actresses doing the witches' performances is very solid. Like whatever direction they were given was exactly the right direction. Like they are exactly the right level of insane. Like because they're they're definitely not all there. They're not all together. They're not very stable individuals, but it works for this movie because it's campy and because it's zany. They're just being ridiculous. There is a little bit of they play a little bit fast and loose with how much information they should have about the modern world. Like
Yep.
there's the very famous everyone knows I Put a Spell on You. Excellent song,
Mm-hmm.
great Halloween song. Um, but they very quickly adapt to the fact that microphones are a thing that exist and that you can sing into them, and also they very quickly adapt to the fact that nobody believes that they're witches and they can pretend to put a spell on you in a song and actually do it and nobody will believe them, which is like, okay, they're not intelligent enough to figure this out.
And somehow they knew that driver's license exist because you have the witch pulling
Yes.
up next to I can't remember the main boy's name, but
Yeah,
pulling up next to him, saying, "Let me see your driver's license." It's like that would not have been a thing 300 years ago.
yeah.
So it is funny what they will have the witches be ignorant of, and the other things they just happen to have picked up within the few hours that they've been alive. So it's
Right.
kind of funny. I do think it's. I don't know whose idea it was, but I feel like. I mean, it happens. It's quite a few times where it'll be like, so we can cut back to the witches, so they give them something to do. Let's give them something they're not familiar with and see how they interact with it. They do that quite a few times. And when there's not like an action scene, that's what they will do, like to cut in between the adventure with the main kids and the witches. Like that's what they'll do. It's like, it was just kind of interesting that that's what they would do with the time. So, I mean, I feel like, once or twice would be fine, but I feel like it was just, at times, after a while, it felt like they were just doing it sort of fill in the time.
Yeah, I mean the two most obvious ones are the bus scene and the scene where they see the guy who's dressed in a devil costume. Like those scenes don't actually add anything to the plot of the movie. It's just showing them being dumb and interacting with the modern world.
Right.
Which, like you can have one of them, but both of them is like, okay.
They're like, yeah, we know what the people want. Let's give them the check the writers. What is it? The bus scene? You sure we can do that one? Yeah, it's the witches. Yeah, it's fine. You know what? Yeah, people like the witches.
I think, I don't know about the bus scene, but I think at least the scene with the devil guy in the costume, the guy playing him, I want to say that was almost one of those sort of fun cameo things. I think the guy playing him was some actor or director from, years before this who was popular. And so putting him back in was just a fun nod to people who would have recognized him. I think that's what that was. But
one of those for the parents things.
I think so, honestly. So
fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep.
After
some quick research, he's him and the Lady Medusa, or his wife. They were both. I think both directors. Or he's the director, and that's it. Yeah, they're. She was an actress. He was mainly a director. Huh, yeah, interesting.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
I think going back to the wishes, something that's very interesting is what's interesting with a lot of things that they say, if you listen to it, like the dialogue itself, I don't think is that funny, but how the witches say it is what's funny.
Oh yeah, delivery's half the battle, and they do that very well.
Especially the witch Sarah, who's played by Sarah Jessica Parker. I think she was in particular probably the funniest of the three, in my opinion. And what's funny is looking at her filmography, I think I've seen one other film of hers and she was meh, but she's not that good of an actress from what I've seen.
Highlight of her career is Hocus Pocus. That's a high note, really.
Somehow, and I think very few people can say that.
It's not the compliment that you think it is.
Right.
But yes, she does play an absolutely insane person very well. And then also, I'm assuming she actually sang "Come Little Children."
That is a good question. I do not know.
Okay. I mean, if she did, that's a very well sung song.
Yep, that was her.
Okay, that actually.
Thank you.
So.
I'm just gonna be the lore master here.
Fantastic. Good. Gotta have one.
But both of those songs are far better than they have any right to be for the quality of movie that they're in. Which is a very classic Kenny Ortega thing, right?
Yes.
We Jack and I talked about this before the podcast that after this movie, Kenny Ortega realized that his strong suit was making musicals, but he was only doing it making movies. And so he realized that he needed to have the barest, thinnest, tiniest bit of plot possible that you could use to string together musical numbers. And he'd have all these great musical numbers with excellent choreography that made no sense within the reality of the universe. But it's okay because they're awesome, and you want to listen to them, and you want to watch them, and you want to go and download the musical and the soundtrack and listen to it 100 times on repeat. And this is the movie where he figured that out. So that's what he wanted to do.
What's interesting with Ortega, just looking at his filmography, his first film was Newsies, so that makes sense. That's right up his alley. And then he did this. Not sure why he did that. I mean, I guess he was already associated with Disney anyway. He's like, you know what, maybe I'll do a film with songs, but take less of a musical approach than Newsies was. He did it, and I mean, it did not do well at the box office. I'll just say that right now. But I'll get into why later. But I think the highlights, like you mentioned, were the songs, and something that you'll probably notice is when the witches walk around, they're very much in sync. And I definitely think that's an Ortega thing with synchronized movement in dancing. He definitely likes that a lot. And the original pieces, like you said. And so that's when we get things like High School Musical and all of that, when he's like, this is where I'm strong. Let me just focus on that. And he did very well for himself. And then I guess the Descendants film, his more recent trilogy. So.
Yep.
Oh, he did that too?
Yes, he did. Which is exactly.
He does have a type.
He has a type, which is high school kids that have to go and deal with some problem while singing about it, while there are songs in the background.
Something I'd be very interested to see. I don't know if he's written a book or not. It's like, did Kenny Ortega go to high school, and if so, what was his experience?
Yeah.
You see, I played basketball one year, then I went into the band one year, then I went to the theater another year, and well, in the end, I brought them all together.
Yes, but the entire time I was secretly the descendant of magical fairy tale characters, and also I accidentally lit a candle that caused these witches to come back to life.
And I may have killed them in this giant oven that we had access to in the high school.
Yes.
Oh yeah, fun fact about that horrific thing, Mercy. I mean, yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like, we've seen worse, but again, it's like 12-year-old watching that. It's like, oh, okay, or 10-year-old watching that. Okay, they died. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, I guess. Like, darn, that was. Also, that's a kiln for firing clay.
Yeah.
Never
Also,
seen a full room one. I mean, plot convenience, yeah, but
how wealthy is that school that they kiln that large? But
I mean, the building's huge. The prison for children, if it were. Again, it's
yeah.
jokes like that and stuff like that that makes me think it's just like, yeah, this is the perfect like after school Halloween thing or whatever.
Yeah, there's very much a middle school, high school oriented movie. Probably more middle school for middle schoolers looking into high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a good one for that. Yeah.
I do. Yes, it has exactly. I remember a lot of movies growing up that had the same vibe of these are movies that are made for middle schoolers about high school, and high school was nothing like those movies. There was never an opportunity that I had to go into the Sanderson sisters' house and go light a candle and accidentally summon them back into the real world. Like that.
All right, brag about it. Why don't you?
I was very disappointed, actually. I wish
0 stars. Would not recommend.
zero out of 10. Would not recommend my high school.
This isn't anything like Hocus Pocus at all.
Yeah, exactly. Also, going back to the kiln, I appreciate how the girl, she sees an oven in an alleyway and then looks at the others and says, "I have an idea." And you can almost see the psychopath growing behind her eyes as she thinks, "I'm going to go and set these 3 people on fire and kill them." And there's no remorse, there's no hesitation. We're going to go for it.
It's self-defense, but don't you think it's kind of overkill, though?
Well, apparently not, because it didn't actually kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, the minute that happened, and it's like, oh yeah, the green smoke, and then I looked at the runtime, I was like, ooh,
yeah. That was the first of 3 endings that movie has. Right? They're like, yeah, we won. Oh wait, everyone's still dancing.
The cat's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That also made me wonder, did they address that thing? It's like I liked that. The fact that it was like, back in the day, it was like one of the things that people thought witches could do was induce, like, what is it, dancing mania. That's why people, if you ever, see a property that's talking about, like, it's like, oh, we were just dancing in the woods. Well, it's like it was a phenomenon. It was like dance mania that people would just, I guess, I don't know. Don't ask me how it happened, but it was like, they just like, keep dancing and acting crazy till they died of exhaustion in, groups. So that's kind of why I guess people in like witch related media take that so seriously. So I was like, oh, it's a different time. Hey, it was, but it was also a different time where stuff like that could kill you.
Yeah.
Really weird. But, again, here I am with a not so fun fact again.
I do appreciate there's a different, like, nowadays, if I think of a quote unquote witch character who is the most relevant to our modern day, it would be Scarlet Witch, right, from Marvel.
That's fair.
either Scarlet Witch or maybe the weird live action Netflix Sabrina series, which I don't recommend. It's terrible. Don't watch it. But like those would be the two that come to mind, and I feel like this movie also is grounded in a different understanding of magic. Like it comes from a time when people had a different pulp culture understanding of magic than what we do now. Because now we think of magic in the Harry Pottery, Scarlet Witchy sense of anyone can do magic, and not anyone can do magic, but like
in the worlds of the
yes,
kind of pop culture worlds, yeah.
And there was a very different understanding that like the understanding that people had of magic that is implicit in Hocus Pocus, like that's in the cultural background of people watching that for the first time, is how most people used to treat magic. And now we live in a time when, mostly because of Harry Potter, we've reshaped the way we think of things, which is interesting.
Something on that note, something that'd be interesting to look into would be, before the Harry Potter films and the books became such a huge phenomenon, did you really have any films or media where the witches or wizards were not only the protagonists, but seen as the hero of the story? How popular was that, or was that even a popular version of that before Harry Potter sort of made it a thing?
Oh,
when did things like Kiki's Delivery Service come out?
That was early 90s. Or late 80s. Hang on, I gotta get this right.
Yeah, because that would have been, if it was early 90s, that would have been before Harry Potter.
Kiki's Delivery Service?
That's 89. 89. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so that's definitely so there would be a few. There'd be a couple then.
Okay.
But it wouldn't have been the default perception.
Yeah. And I guess it wouldn't have affected the US until Harry Potter, would be my assumption.
Oh, this is one of them animus, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, hold on. Wait a minute. You've never watched Kiki's Delivery Service?
No, because I'm not a filthy weeb. I'm kidding. It's just because I've never heard of it.
It's a Studio Ghibli movie.
It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's about growing up.
Yes, it's about
growing up, except it's witches.
Well, it's about a witch. It's about a witch growing up.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Doesn't she lose her magic in that movie?
Yes, and then she starts to get back as she finds her purpose, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. That's, which is not about Hocus Pocus. We've gotten very far off into the weeds.
Ghibli's another time. We'll do Ghibli films another time.
Yes.
Listen, we're mainly focused on the vibes and the feels and all those other fancy words because, again, like we've said, it's, this movie represents more of a kind of a feeling or a mindset. I mean, not like it's like, oh, you have to be in a certain state of mind to enjoy. No, you don't need to be in any state of mind to kind of enjoy it. You just kind of have to hop on and be there for the ride.
I mean, it probably is one of those. Sorry, what were you saying?
You can roll out of bed and be half asleep and still watch this movie and get most of it.
I was going to say, if you're high, the higher you are, the more you might enjoy it. But, I mean...
Yeah, probably.
If we're talking about states of mind.
Play a drinking game. Every time the Sanderson sisters do something stupid, take a shot, you'll be dead by the first 10 minutes.
But I'm using water. Exactly.
Yes, you'll drown.
One character that I actually have a game here in a second I just came up with, so this will be fun. But after one character that his entire arc really doesn't make any sense. I get why he was put in there, but if you think about it, his character doesn't really make any sense. Billy Butcherson.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. You're gonna analyze the plot arc of the character growth of.
It'd take too long to analyze all of them, but just Billy Butcherson. It's like, first off, they shouldn't have been able to use the magic in the graveyard to bring him alive anyway, because it was the magic of graveyard, which we talked about.
I told you this.
Yes.
The whole reason that the witches can't get, this is another thing of like a cultural understanding of magic that people used to have that we don't anymore. Like a church graveyard was sacred ground, was hallowed ground, right? And because of that, that's why the witches can't set foot in there, because it's sacred ground. So they're not allowed to go there. But the whole reason you didn't make the ground sacred to keep witches out. You made the ground sacred so that zombies and restless spirits wouldn't come back. And so, because it's sacred ground, the zombie shouldn't work. It doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
But Joe, they said the spell while they were flying in the air. That's like PEMDAS. It cancels each other out.
No,
Right?
Not this time. Not this time.
that's not how that works.
So, I mean, that's just just him coming alive. That's just, there's already a problem there. But the whole thing that he eventually decides not to, hand the boy over to the witches, but like the entire time he acts like he can't be bothered with what the witches say, but he does it anyway. It's like, why is he even doing what they said if he doesn't like them?
Actually, that's another thing. I think that's actually another thing about a weird cultural understanding of magic. Like, because his mouth is shut, he can't express himself, and it's a thing of like, because he can't express himself, he has to do what he's told, even if he doesn't want to. And then once he's able to express himself, he is. And I'm not giving the movie credit for like having this complex idea. I'm thinking,
No, I know.
I think that there was a understanding of like, this is one of those like these weird association things that you see in the older understanding of magic, that like, oh, because you can't do this, that's symbolically, because you can't do this one thing that's symbolic, you can't do these other things.
Yeah.
So I think that might be what's going on there. And again, I'm not giving the movie credit for coming up with that. I'm thinking like people just maybe understood that, and that just made sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's possible. And he was fine just, to give the characters somebody to run away from when the witches were busy singing and being wowed by the 20th century.
Oh, but, yeah, he's the agency man.
Yeah.
Agency zombie. There we go.
Agency zombie, yeah.
I mean, they chose a great person to do him. Doug Jones has done, a bunch of character actors. I mean, like Hellboy, he was in that. He was in Pan's Labyrinth. In the film, hopefully we'll never talk about it on the podcast, he plays Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four 2. So,
honestly, the best, even if we don't talk about it. As quick tangent, good casting. Doug Jones as the physical actor for Silver Surfer and Lawrence Fishburne for the voice. Very good. Okay, go on.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about Hocus Pocus. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say, I was going to throw the game out there.
Sure.
The game or your comments, because
we'll do the trivia later.
Oh, that sounds good.
All right, so quick game, pretty simple. They announced they're making a Hocus Pocus sequel.
Oh no!
And so basically, just in quick 30 seconds to a minute, just your pitch, either what you think it's going to be about or what you'd want it to be about.
Okay. Do we have a little bit of time to think?
You have a little bit of time, so
I'll start the timer. All right, hold on.
During the time while you're thinking, I can throw some trivia out there, so then we can just sort of end it with this pitch. Then, some interesting trivia with this film was it was originally released in July of 1993 by Disney because Nightmare Before Christmas was also released that same year, and they did not want to be competing with themselves.
Ooh.
So that was kind of interesting.
All right.
And
sorry, Jack. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying, and because of that, it did fail at the box office because nobody wants to see a Halloween film during July. Just saying.
No way.
I can't believe it.
There's got to be some alternative reason. It was review bombed, wasn't it? Like before anyone ever saw it. It scored low on Rotten Tomatoes or something. I don't know.
Before Rotten Tomatoes was a thing, yes, it scored low on Rotten Tomatoes.
Of course. All right, Joe, you have 30 seconds starting now.
Okay, so the daughter or son or kid of the main boy who has now married the girl, obviously, because it's 20 years later and they've married, of course, and they have a kid, and they're telling their kid about the story of this time when they met, and it's the Sanderson sisters, and the kid doesn't believe it. She's like, let's say girl, she doesn't believe it. And so she finds the book because at the end of the movie, the book is still alive.
Yep.
Still work. And she finds the book and reads off a spell from it sarcastically, just like her dad would have lit the candle sarcastically. Reads off a spell sarcastically, and it brings the witches back. And then shenanigans ensue. And now it's the 21st century, and they have to deal with the 21st century.
All right, Joe, 43 seconds. We're going to have to shave off that last 13 seconds. You're fired. All right, yeah.
Well, let's
bring in another writer.
Give me a 30-second pitch then, sir.
All right.
And go.
Well, you see, there's we open on the graveyard. There's the dust there. It's been 20 years, and then there's the wind, and then there's, like you said, there's the daughter of these two. I can't even remember their names. It's like, so this is where it happened. I don't believe you. And then she throws down some kind of, I don't know, some kind of modern technology phone thing, and it brings them back to life somehow because it scanned the magic Necronomicon thing, and then they're back and they have to deal with the 21st century, and then they get them by exposing them to 5G waves. Oh, okay, yeah, 31
32 seconds. They exposed them to 5G.
Listen, I got desperate.
I feel like mine is a more coherent idea.
Mine would be more zany. Therefore, it's more in spirit with the first one.
Yeah, but this is 21st century, right? This is a 2020s.
We're
I
going
mean,
for
technically,
a,
it's
we're going
close
for
to
a
30 years
postmodern
later.
Hocus Pocus.
Oh crap! Is it?
It's closer
Oh,
to 30 years
yeah,
because at least
93.
93.
Well, see, that still works for like the pitch
Sure.
of how much later
Yeah.
it should be, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Despite the fact that they, the main guy and girl had very little chemistry to begin with, and they were supposed to develop romantic feelings over this entire film. Yes, they ended up together because it makes sense.
Well, by makes sense, we mean it has the movie logic of if you have a main male actor, if you have a main male character and you have a main female character who aren't currently dating anyone else, they will be dating each other by the end of the movie.
Right. Well, that's it makes sense in Hollywood terms.
Yes.
So, what was I going to say? I guess should I do my pitch now?
They were running for their lives the whole time. So it's like a, what is it? I can't remember the term, but it's like, what is it? It's like somebody saves you from like getting hit by a bus, and like the adrenaline makes you think you're. It's not like makes you think you're in love with them, or so. It's something like that. I can't remember
I know what
the
you're talking
exact
about,
term, but yeah, that sort of thing.
but
They've just been doing that for 20 years.
They've just been saving each other from getting hit by buses and getting killed by witches for the last 30 years. That's how they keep the spark alive.
Yes. Shoot, I gotta come up with that, don't I? If I was gonna do it,
Oh, hold on.
top of my head.
Gotta get the timer. Go.
I mean, it'd probably be a similar thing. I like the whole idea from what Joe was saying of having the kid and then bringing them back, because you obviously have to bring the three witches back somehow. So them doing that in a sarcastic way similar to the parents, I think that makes sense. The only additional thing I would add on a more comedic tone would be the whole, we were mentioning how the mom was somehow, she started to get a little crazy with wanting to burn all the three women alive in the oven. So her turn to insanity in the past 30 years would be interesting to see, and how that has progressed, and whether or not she's perhaps become a witch herself, or whether or not they're able to bring her back to normal.
We can't visit your mother on Halloween. She gets aggressive.
Especially if you can't let her cook anything.
Yeah.
It just becomes straight up Jumanji. It's like she's locked herself in her house, terrified of ovens. She hates Halloween. She's moved away out of Salem.
If somehow I could fit the bullies into it, I would, because they were very fun side characters. Again, they were goofy, but they were a lot of fun, and probably one of the main things I remember from Hocus Pocus growing up was quoting what the bullies said with my siblings, just because they were so dumb and ridiculous, but they were fun.
Yeah.
So
It was the good dumb.
it was the good dumb, exactly.
They are entirely non-threatening as actual bullies.
But
Yeah,
he
can we
shaved
talk
the
about-
letters into the back of his head. Does that not intimidate you at all?
Dude, that's
really?
ice. I'm ice. Get it? Like vanilla?
I think Max is Max the name of the boy, the main
Yes.
Yeah, because the other
Yeah.
guy's like Thackeray or something.
Thackeray. I think it's Thackeray.
Thackeray
I feel like it feels like
Oh.
the sound of hairball. Like it feels like the name of a hairball.
Thackeray.
Thackeray.
There's a point where Max is confronted. He's riding through the graveyard on his bike, and the two bullies confront him. Like, well, what am I gonna do with my afternoon? I don't know. Learn to breathe through your nose.
Get a better haircut.
Well, that too.
Well, I love that the other bully laughs at it because he's the worst.
Yes.
Jay and Silent Bob knockoff looking.
Silent Ice.
Oh no,
You know,
Jane
okay,
Silent
those two actors, you know who they remind me of? Yeah,
Jay and
they
Silent
remind
Bob.
they remind me of in the live action version of Hercules when Pain and Panic turn into like boys and so they shapeshift into humans for a scene. Like for some reason they give me the same vibes. I don't know if I'm just crazy or not.
live action Hercules. Are you talking about the
I mean,
Dwayne
not live
Johnson
action
one?
Hercules. Did I say live action?
You did.
I think you
In the
did. Yeah,
animated Hercules movie.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I meant.
the Dibney one. I wouldn't
The
surprise.
Dibney
Wouldn't
one.
surprise me if they tried to make a live action one. Hey,
Well, yeah, I'm sure they will. But sorry, I misspoke. When
Gotcha.
the Disney the
Okay.
Disney Hercules movie is what I meant to say. Pain and Panic when they change into like because they like are trying to trick Hercules for some reason. Though those character models look like they were designed on like, as younger versions of those two guys of those two bullies.
See, now I want to see what year Hercules came. I don't remember.
Now I might be completely off base. It could just be that my memory is wrong.
It was
But, like,
97. I don't know. It was in
Yeah.
1997 they released Hercules, so maybe
it fits
the
with
director was a
the-
big Hocus Pocus fan.
Oh,
maybe.
I don't know.
yeah,
But
it fits with the times. It's just like the two goofy sidekicks and whatnot. They still the cinema still hadn't grown out of that phase.
30 years later, it'd be funny if they were still in those cages
Oh yeah,
because nobody got
they're
them
not
out.
dead. They're just old. It's
They're just old and sad.
Please let us out. And can I have your dad's shoes back?
yo, they're bringing them back. They're bringing back the Converses or whatever they were.
Well,
I think they were
you know,
Nikes.
I
Oh,
mean, the
Nikes.
reason why we're getting a remake, or not a remake, the reason why we're getting a sequel to Hocus Pocus is because the nostalgia wave has hit that point.
Mhm.
Like the nostalgia wave keeps cycling, and we've reached that point. So,
Speaking of that, as for my second random trivia thing, the reason that it has become so nostalgic was even though it did badly at the box office years later, both channels like Disney, Disney Channel, Fox, and ABC Family started airing it during their Halloween runs on the cable networks, and that's how it got popularity, and that's how it became the class it is today through cable. It wasn't through the movie theater run.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's a lot of the movies that are staples of a particular season are you keep seeing the TV reruns around that time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Unless you guys want to add anything, I think we can pretty much give our official rankings and wrap it up.
There is one other thing that I wanted to complain about because it was so annoyingly obvious in the movie. It was just hitting you over the head with all of the innuendos. It's just constant.
Yeah.
It's there's a point where it goes through multiple levels where it's kind of funny and then it gets annoying and then you come through and you're like, okay, now it's kind of funny again. And then it goes down again. And you're once more you're just frustrated with it constantly being in your face. And that was another very 90s thing of like we have the standard that you can't explicitly say things, but we have no standard on how much you can reference these things.
Right. You have all these, films we're trying to be like, okay, we can't say it. We're going to get as close to the line as we can.
Yeah. We're going to just like dance on the line right there. You know what we're saying, but we can't say it, but we're going to we're going to push the line as much as possible.
But we're still PG. We're still PG.
We're still PG. Yeah, right.
But listen, guys.
Because then, like, the stuff that they do in that movie would have been PG-13 in the 2000s.
Oh, easily, yeah.
There's like a change in the perspective on what is okay, and now we live in an age when you can just be openly explicit about everything and nobody cares. Well, people care, but nobody says anything.
Right. Hollywood doesn't care.
Hollywood doesn't care, but it's another one of those things that's very 90s and very in your face, and makes it very painful to watch.
Right. Agreed. Alrighty, I guess it's time for our 10-star ranking. Is that right?
Yeah, our out of 10.
Or out of 10. Yeah, we're not all giving it 10.
on
It's
the
not
use.
there. We'll use Joe's use scale.
Yeah.
If
Oh, there
people
we
so
go.
wish. So.
Oh yeah, we still haven't made a poster out of that or whatever.
One day, get one of our many fans. If you get on that, that'd be great.
But what we'll do the first
You
piece
know
of
who you
merch,
are, superfan / advertising head.
yeah, the first piece of merch that we sell will be a poster of the use scale with all of my rankings of movies where I've placed them on the scale.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Either that or like our rankings for the films we've done on this podcast.
Yes, no,
Like,
yeah, that's what I meant. Like the rankings.
Yeah,
because it's my scale. Obviously, it's going to be my rankings.
right.
Look at this
Or-
guy.
Or it
Look
could
at
be
this
the
guy.
average, or it could be our averages. I guess that works too.
Yeah, glory hound.
Watch, we're all gonna come up with our letters that we use for scales.
This is my C scale. You have to turn it sideways though.
Uh,
I'm just gonna have an I because then it's all straight down. And it's, you know.
This just seems like a normal ranking with extra steps.
No, it's an I. It's very much an I.
Guys, you don't get it. I don't.
you're right. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Oh. All
right,
right.
Mr.
No,
U scale. Go for it. Give us
I
your
would
ranking.
say how if I had seen it earlier in life, it would probably be like by now it would be like a -8 or 9. But because I saw it when I was older, I'm gonna say -6, somewhere -6, 6 or 7. So I guess -6.5. That would be the halfway point. Because it's
All
like it's funny. It's not something that you genuinely enjoy. It's something that you enjoy because it's the season and because it's funny. And you kind of ironically enjoy it. So
yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I don't plan on seeking this movie out again to watch it, but if it's like, if it's on, I don't know. I was gonna say if I'm at some Halloween party, but I don't go to parties.
We're doing a podcast. We don't get invited to things.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jack. But yeah, it's looking more like a -4. It's like, oh, this is cool, but it's sort of like, the distilled '90s leaves not a bad taste. It's not too overt, but it's sort of like, well, it's not bad. It's I apparently I definitely had higher expectations considering that I was heckled for not seeing it.
I actually was kind of surprised that you heckled that you heckled Joseph just because you hadn't watched it when you were younger. So I'm surprised you have such an affinity for it.
Yeah, you saved that bombshell for this podcast, didn't you? I see.
Yes, I did.
I know how it is. The
was
drama alert. Get Keem on the no, yeah.
I guess since I was the only one who grew up with it, me thinking about it, depending on how nostalgic I feel, I think the highest I would ever give it, I'm still not used to using the negative scale, so I'm not going to bother with it. Just on a 1 to 10 scale, depending on how nostalgic I'm feeling, and again, if I was watching with my family, the highest I give would be a 6. The highest.
That's fair.
So, and I guess using a star scale, like 5 stars being the highest, and you with half stars, all that be max 3 stars.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's pretty good. And I forgot to bring this up. I mean, here at the very end, and I've forgotten my big thing. But it's like this, even on a technical level, we ignore the zany feel. I mean, it's hard to because in the end, the feel of the movie's tied into how the technical aspects are executed and whatnot. But it's a technically, pretty good movie. Again, it's got some of the kind of tropes and tricks of the '90s in terms of camera work and stuff, but the set design and the production value. At first, I thought this was like a Disney TV movie, and I was like, "Wow, this is like actually a high quality production or something." And then I realized it's released in theaters. It's like, all right, yeah, that makes more sense. But again, it's still, I mean, for again, it's like a kid, teen, tween, whatever you want to call it. For a kids movie, it's like they put a lot of effort into this. Even the mid '90s CG talking cat face isn't that bad.
No, that's a fair point. The effects in the film are not nearly as bad as they could have been.
Oh yeah, they hold up surprisingly well.
Yeah, if the effects didn't hold up as well as they did, this movie would have lost probably 2 points on my scale.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
So
agreed. Yeah, I would make sure no one I knew ever watched it.
yeah,
Hocus Pocus, isn't that? No, it's nothing.
no,
It's not a movie.
Let's
doesn't
move on.
exist.
We're gonna
Nothing to
watch
see here.
We're gonna watch the pinnacle of '90s animation, Scary Godmother. Not again.
Please, if there are Scary Godmother fans out there, please reach out to Joseph. He's very desperate for a friend right now.
Please do. I know. There's literally dozens of us.
There's literally it's a real disease that affects literally dozens of us.
Yeah,
Well-
that was I would say most of the enjoyment from this one for me came out of the viewing experience. Joe knows a little bit what I'm talking about, but yeah, the viewing experience was as fun as the movie for me. So
Yeah.
you see, it's been a busy week, and well, I didn't have the opportunity to watch it until today. Today's Sunday, and I started watching it on the way to one place for lunch. I wasn't looking at the video driving down the road. I was listening to it. I know that's definitely quality viewing, but yeah, don't worry, I was safe. And then when I got there, I came in watching it on my phone. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm watching Hocus Pocus. It's for my not job, hobby." And it's like, okay, that's fine. And then what is it? I just sat down at the table. A couple other people started watching it. It's like, oh, I've never seen this either. And that helped me feel better, Joe. Since I'm not the only one who's seen it now or
Okay.
not seen it. And then I watched that through lunch on my phone. And then it's like, it went to the TV. It's like going back and forth. I got like a hot dog in one hand and chips on it so I can have the most efficient meal while I'm watching this movie. And then I'm listening to it again, driving back home to record this. And again, we're going to reveal a little bit of movie magic. I had the volume low enough that I just finished it 10 minutes into our show. And I got to say, that was pretty fun.
10 stars for effort.
Yeah.
10 stars for effort.
Honestly, that's the best viewing experience possible for this movie.
That's
It-
fantastic.
It really is, though. I felt like I was being chased by Billy Butcher. It was amazing. It was a true immersive experience.
Oh,
Fantastic. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Next week,
we're gonna watch Dune.
yeah,
And
we'll watch Dune. And we're going to come back to you with that and our take on that and possibly have a guest with us. So,
we'll see.
Ooh,
Yeah.
first guest.
and so that will be a surprise. So anyway, thanks so much for listening as always. Where if you did, of course, we appreciate you. And if not, you didn't miss anything.
Yep. Make sure if you weren't listening, good job. And if you were, get back to work.
All right.
There you go. All righty. See you next week.
See you next week.
Goodbye. Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm Doug Jones.